As US President Donald Trump hits the world with heavy tariffs, a rival group has emerged, and they're on show this week at an economic summit in Beijing that's attended by Russia's Vladimir Putin, India's Narendra Modi, as well as others. And this is all ahead of a Chinese military parade, Victory Day it's called, that'll be held at Tiananmen Square on Wednesday and will also be attended by North Korea's Kim Jong-un and Bob Carr. He's accepted an invitation, while former Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews has reportedly been invited as well. Whether he accepts or not is unclear at this stage. But joining us live is Sky News US analyst Michael Ware. Let's start off with this summit, this economic summit. Michael, good to see you, by the way. And the images of all these leaders together, they are allowed to, of course, but what does it say to you?
Well, look, this is a regular event, but it's been growing far more influential in recent years.
Yeah.
And this week, now this conference is taking the global centre stage. Why? Because unfolding this weekend, we're arguably seeing the most unsettling impact of President Trump's tariff war so far. Because with the imposition of 50% tariffs that have now gone into effect against India, President Trump has shepherded India into China's sphere of influence. For decades, India has been non-aligned, and we've been attempting to woo it to the West. But now we're seeing them, charge towards Beijing literally at the moment. And this does, in some ways, destabilise Australia's security environment in the Indo-Pacific, because we're a founding member of the Quad. It's India, us, America, and Japan. And if India is moving closer towards China, which the Quad is meant to help contain, then that's deeply concerning. And now we're hearing that President Trump may not be going to India later this year to attend the annual Quad Summit with the rest of us. So this Shanghai Cooperation Organisation meeting that's taking place has emerged in the last 24 years into an anti-West organisation. And the top of their agenda now this week is combating and joining together to fight President Trump.
So a lot of this, you rightly point out, India's a friend of ours as well. I mean, as other nations in this region are, but Donald Trump had recently said to India, look, you've got to stop buying oil from Russia. But India gets it very cheaply, and Narendra Modi's primary job is to look after his own people, right? So if they're all together, and you point out it's a very much an anti-Western sentiment there in Beijing this week, as there often is, but what happens? What comes out of this? Is there a stronger pushback against the United States, the West, etc.? What could we expect in the West?
Yeah, look, this could take many forms, the product of this conference. Certainly previous ones have not issued a joint statement supporting Russia and Ukraine. Is that now a possibility? Because North Korea is going, Kim Jong-un, and he's going to literally be meeting face-to-face with, President Xi of China and with President Putin of Russia. And we know how reliant Russia has been on North Korea for drones, technology, and actual troops in its war. So we may see some impact on the Ukrainian front line, or in that Ukrainian area of operations. We're also seeing these closer ties with India and China. That's the most concerning part. They've already announced that they're going to step up some trade, that China no longer sees threat coming from India so much as it's seeing development opportunities. The closer those two get, the worse it is for Australia particularly, but all of us in the Western alliances. Because if there's one country in the region that China worries about, it's India, because they have a 3,800 kilometre shared border. They've been in a military standoff since a 2020 clash. Now they've patched that up, and they have a new border patrol agreement, and everything's progressing forward. None of that is good news for the Trump administration or the rest of the West.
You know, it's interesting too, Michael. India for a long time has wanted to get on the UN Security Council, right? The 5 permanent members. It wants to be the 6th permanent member. China doesn't want that though, does it? Because it'll lose some of its influence.
Well, that may change. That's a big call, but we are seeing incremental, progress in their relationship. China hasn't wanted them on the permanent members of the Security Council because they're combatants. Yeah. They're adversaries, militarily and economically. As I said, they have border clashes going back since the 1950s. Really bad one where 20 soldiers died in hand-to-hand fighting 5 years ago. Well, all of that's been wiped away. So would China oppose them as much now? One wonders, although they wouldn't want to dilute the power of the 5.
Yeah, I mean, Germany and Japan, I mean, they all want to become that 6th member as well, so whether that changes or not, it's probably unlikely. But you've got this big military parade that's going to be taking place at Tiananmen Square on Wednesday, so it'll cap off the week in spectacular fashion, won't it? Bob Carr says he's going, the former Labor Foreign Minister. Daniel Andrews, the former Victorian Premier, he's been invited. Whether he goes or not, as I mentioned, it remains to be seen. But what sort of a display will be there? I don't think anyone from our Australian current government is going.
No, I don't believe so. But also the UN Secretary General has signalled that he may attend. Look, we all have to talk to our enemies and we all need to keep the flow of information passing back and forth. But expect this to be a cracker of an event. 20,000 troops and others have been rehearsing for weeks. This will be very reminiscent of Red Square during the Soviet era. So this is very much filled with nationalist fervour, and it's part of rallying common Chinese citizens to the government's nationalist cause. We're seeing it in Chinese cinema right now. The most popular movies across the board are, celebrating the events of World War II.
Yeah, China's box office. If you go and look at the all-time films, I mean, there's Chinese films in there right up the top that most people outside of China have never even heard of.
Well, they're not designed for people outside of China, are they? I mean, we're now seeing little kids mesmerised by these tales of World War II, both the horrors that the rest of the world doesn't acknowledge and the heroes that emerged in China itself. So this is their cinema is a very nationally galvanising industry and form of propaganda, entertainment, one could argue.
Yeah, with an eye on Taiwan, it seems, as the result of all of this. Thank you, Michael. We will leave it there.